Moved into the new office and have not really had a ton of food in the fridge. And so I've been doing way too much DoorDash or just eating like the most random meals in the world, like frozen meatballs with frozen spinach. And so I wanted to have some really great salad stuff just in the fridge so that I could just throw stuff together. Sorry, this is kind of distracting, but so I could just throw stuff together super quickly. So I have my oven preheated to 400 degrees. And I have 2 big split chicken breasts with the skin on. I would actually do bone-in as well if you are cool with cutting around it, because it just helps keep the chicken like super tender and really juicy and flavorful. I just used a little bit of this Primal Kitchen avocado oil spray, one of my favorite things. Sprayed the chicken just a tiny bit, and then I'm just gonna liberally season with salt and pepper and throw it into the oven while I make my dressing, cut up some veggies, and then that way all I have to do when I'm like right in the middle of lunch or I'm busy in between running kids around to stuff is grab a handful of lettuce, some of this chicken, which will already be cut up, and a bunch of veggies, and then I'll already have my dressing made too. And that, to me, in my opinion, just helps me stay on track. And it doesn't cause me to order out or to not eat or to snack instead. And so this is just a great way for me to actually eat a healthy lunch. Ryan works in the office as well, and he definitely won't eat or help himself to anything unless there's food already in the fridge and like there's very clear instructions. And so this is really easy. I'm here every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific and cooking something as often as I can, as long as I'm not running around like crazy trying to get kids places. But you guys can ask questions. We're live. You can also watch this back later if you want, if you can't stay and be tuned in the entire time. We always save it to my IGTV on Instagram like a day later, and then on Facebook it just lives forever on my page. So you can even go back and click on the videos tab and see any old live videos if you're just looking for more recipes or just looking to learn a little bit more. There's always old videos on there, and then also on my YouTube. So a lot of times we'll put these videos up on my YouTube just so that they can be viewed kind of anywhere. But we also have a ton of other cooking videos on my YouTube as well. So if you're more of that kind of visual learner, that's the way to go. Okay, I just put a very small shallot, 2 medium garlic cloves, and then I'm going to do just about a teaspoon of lemon juice, about 2 tablespoons of champagne vinegar, a pinch of salt, and some black pepper.
Okay, we have our first question.
Great.
So this one's from Instagram.
Okay.
And she said, since your autoimmune issues, have you been on a flight longer than 10 hours? I'm great at planning at home and for shorter flights, but long distance is a bit daunting.
Yes, I have. I'm trying to think when the last time was. I don't travel internationally very often, but I definitely do a ton of traveling. So even if it's not 10 hours in one day, I definitely have done more than 10 in 2 days, especially when I tour. And yeah, I mean, I think I just have to be very, very, very careful about what I'm eating, especially with UC, and making sure that I have lots of snacks and other things to keep me sustained while I'm traveling, and then also that I know that I won't be eating things that could cause, a flare-up or something like that. So that helps just even with the anxiety, I think, as well, of just kind of knowing that you're prepared. And then I think just making sure that you get a ton of sleep in advance, and that also if you're going to be traveling, I cannot get this open. If you're going to be traveling and you know that, I think if you can block off a day on either side for when you land to recover, and then when you get back at home, like don't try to just hit the ground running, because that I think is a recipe for disaster. Okay, I'm gonna turn this blender on, and I don't have my little guy, so I'm just gonna cover it up for a minute. Okay, so I wanted to blend all that up so that my shallots and garlic would get pureed. And then to help vinaigrette emulsify, just like a tiny bit of Dijon mustard will really help bring it together. It also gives it great flavor. So we're adding a tiny bit of Dijon mustard, and then I'm going to just turn this on low and start drizzling my olive oil in really slowly until the dressing gets super nice and thick. Even lower. You can do this with a food processor too, just keep it going. Okay, once it starts to thicken up, you can pour a little bit faster, but you don't want to go too quickly. It's kind of like making mayonnaise, which we posted a video on Instagram yesterday about how to make mayonnaise. Your emulsion will break if you pour it too quickly. So even if you're whisking it by hand, it's kind of the same thing. Just start to drop it in ever so slowly, and then you can kind of start to keep the drizzle a little bit more consistent as it comes together. I am also going to add a splash, well, you know what, I'll do it in a minute. I'll add a splash of honey, or actually maple syrup would be good too. Just a tiny bit of sweetness in a dressing for me. And it's also the way I get my kids to eat it. I mean, not more than a teaspoon or so, honestly. You don't really need much, especially with a really well-balanced vinaigrette. It doesn't really need to be sweet. All right.
So we have another question for you. Kayla on Instagram is wondering, for enameled cast iron, have you found that stainless utensils scratch them, or do you have a preferred utensil to use?
Yes, I don't use stainless on any of my cast iron really, or my enameled cast iron. I always use a wooden spoon or a rubber spatula so that it doesn't scratch. You can though get, hold on, let me just get my dressing bottle here. If you do find that it has scratched already, I think Bartender's Keeper or Bon-Ami are both really great products that can get the scratching off. It doesn't usually like scratch it forever. It just kind of scratches the enamel a little bit. So, okay, so we've got our beautiful champagne vinaigrette dressing that will last, it'll last in the fridge for a couple of weeks, but I think we'll probably go through it before that. I can't remember if I said it, but I did put a pinch of salt and pepper in as well. Okay, so there's that. So, I mean, just for 20 minutes at the beginning of the week, obviously I'm chatting, so this is gonna take me a little bit longer than it would take you, but that way, you know, you just take 20 minutes and you prep some stuff, and you don't have to do salads every day, and you can use this chicken on whatever you want. You can put it into wraps. And you can even put, you know, like all of the vegetables into wraps as well, or if you have some grain-free bread. But the salad thing is just kind of like the easiest for me. I started doing it more when I had kids, because I always seemed to have a baby in one arm, and then I could just like go through the containers and piece my salad together with one hand. If you saw my Feeding Friendships episode with my friend Kelly Levesque of Be Well by Kelly, we talk a lot about that, because she was pregnant in it, and I was just like, you're gonna get used to doing like one-handed meals. Even with carriers, I still always found myself bouncing babies with one arm.
Okay, we have another question. Amy on Instagram is wondering, in baked good recipes that call for cashew flour, have you ever tried using half almond and half cashew to save a little money? How does it turn out? Would that ruin the consistency?
Yeah, so it definitely will work. Cashew flour is a tiny bit more oily when it bakes, so your baked goods might turn out just slightly more dry. I mean, there's not a appreciable difference. So I wouldn't say like add any extra oil or anything. I mean, try it out and see how it does. But the other thing too is cashew flour is really easy to make. So you can get bulk cashews online and then just pulse them in your food processor until they're very finely ground. You can also kind of put it through like a colander, mesh colander, just to make sure that any of the big chunks are out. But that's another way to save money too. All right, so I'm gonna dice these apples, And I'm gonna put them into a Tupperware with water and just a splash of lemon juice so that they stay fresh. They might get a little brown, but that doesn't bother me. All right, and then I'm doing jicama. I need a peeler really quick. I love jicama during the summer on salads. I think it tastes so fresh and crunchy, and I actually even used it. If you have my, just cut this off. If you have my Meals Made Simple cookbook, the barbecue salad has jicama on it because the one that I used to buy at the restaurants had like roasted corn, and since I can't do any corn anymore, I felt like jicama was kind of the same. It had like the same consistency, kind of that same crunch, and also kind of gave you that really nice, like crisp, fresh flavor and taste and texture, I guess I should say, that the corn did. So I use it a lot. Okay.
We also have a few people wondering if you have any travel resources for eating, since there's so much summer traveling going on.
I do. If you just search on my blog, just search travel, you'll find quite a few blog posts with lots of different tips in terms of things that I bring with me, places that I like look for when I'm in a different city, of things to eat. But yeah, there's lots, definitely lots. So I'm hoping you guys, it's close enough. I know these are a little bit far away today. I think we'll try next week to get you a tiny bit closer up so you can see. But I just am using half the jicama for this one. I peeled the outside. I just used a knife and just kind of ran along it, and then sliced it into some thin slices, and then stack them all up. And I'm going to just like julienne and kind of cut them into really thin strips. And then I cut my apples into just like kind of diced cubes, whatever you want to call it. But you can do them sliced as well, whatever you want. So you guys already know my trick, about keeping a lot of different fresh vegetables in water. I mean, carrots, jicama, celery, cucumber, all of that will work in there just to keep it fresh and crisp, and then you don't have to cut things up every single day. I'm just gonna do these two for today. And by the way, so I already got pre-washed lettuce, but my friend Kelly, who we've already talked about today, hi Kelly, you should be here with me. She showed these on her Instagram the other day, and I have been trying them out in my fridge. I kind of love them. So they have a carbon filter in the top here that helps veggies stay fresh longer, and fruits. And so my kids love Persian cucumbers, like the little ones, the kind of like cocktail ones, but they get slimy and bad really, really quickly in my fridge. So I put a few of them in one of these guys, a smaller container, and they've lasted so much longer. And so if you buy lettuce that is not already pre-washed, I'm planning on washing it, spinning it, and then putting it in here to keep it fresh longer, and I'm really excited about those. So I had to show you that. Okay, I'm just gonna mix my apples and my jicama because they have kind of a similar flavor anyways, and I'm gonna be putting it all in one place, so no point in having two containers. I haven't had breakfast yet. It's been a really busy morning, so I keep snacking on these apples. I'm gonna make myself a smoothie in a minute. Okay, I don't have any fresh lemons, so I'm just gonna use a splash of this. And then some filtered water. So the last thing that I would put on the salad when I was baking it would be some nuts of some sort. I think Marcona almonds would taste really good with this combination, or just some like sprouted sunflower seeds. And then I would do avocado as well, but of course I'm not gonna cut that up right now, although I do have a little trick for you, because my kids love avocado, but they only usually eat a half at a time. So save the side with the pit in it, because the pit helps actually keep it from browning as it is. If you ever make guacamole and you're waiting for your guests to come, just plop the pit right down in the middle of the bowl. It'll help keep it fresh, plus the lime juice, of course. But I usually cut one half, give it to them, and then the side with the pit I wrap with a paper towel. Make sure the paper towel is like pressed up against it. and then put it into a container and put it in the fridge, and it'll keep it from browning for, I've kept it in there for about 5 days and it hasn't browned. So just a little trick for you if you do open up an avocado for your salad one day and you don't go through the entire thing. That's a good way to preserve it. Okay, let's see. Let me move some of this stuff out of the way, and I'm gonna check on our chicken. But I don't think it's been long enough. I'm gonna have to sign off and show you guys later. But I'm just gonna shred it. And it's not really anything to show you or dice it. But you could take 2 forks. I kept the skin on. I think I mentioned the bone, but I kept the skin on because that just helps it bake really nicely, and it keeps it super juicy because all of the fat from the skin kind of goes into the chicken as it's cooking, keeps it from drying out. But I usually will peel it off for salads, especially if we're grilling or something and the skin is really yummy and crispy, we'll leave it on. But for salads, I'll peel it off at the end. All right.
We do have quite a few people wondering if you can share where you got those containers.
Oh, Amazon. I'll do a link for you guys. Facebook, I'll put it in the comments. And Instagram, I'll do a swipe up after we're done here. Okay, I'm gonna clean up my space for a second here and check on my chicken, which is not done. So if you're not like proficient in the finger poke test for chicken, which is, you can kind of feel for doneness that way, I would do a thermometer, should be at least 160, 165, and then you can let it rest for a little bit and it'll continue cooking for just a tiny bit. But yeah, so that's kind of it. I've got greens. You can really choose whatever you want. I love arugula or baby romaine, or just like if I want something really nice and crunchy, I kind of love green leaf lettuce. If you don't have one of those containers, the other way to preserve your lettuce is wash it all really well. I do a salad spinner just to get it really clean and like all the water kind of spun off of it. And then I wrap the lettuce, the clean lettuce, in paper towels and put them in to a container or a Ziploc or like resealable bag. And that'll keep your lettuce from getting gross and grimy and brown for a week and a half. Sometimes it depends what kind of lettuce it is. Some obviously are more prone to getting slimy than the others. But yeah, that's it. So that's it, guys. I hope that was helpful for you. A little meal prep. Oh, the other thing I was gonna say, I will always prep this kind of stuff, and then just depending on what I have left over from dinner, I usually will throw it on top too. So if I have like roasted sweet potatoes, if I've made some like roasted potatoes for Ryan and the kids, or my burnt broccoli, the charred broccoli, that's always really good on top. So anything you have left over, just to throw on top for lunch too, that's always a really great way to do it. And if you already have leftover protein from dinner, of course, use that as well. But it's just really easy to throw a few pounds of chicken in the oven at the beginning of the week. So much cheaper, by the way, than buying like a rotisserie chicken, even though I definitely default to that as well. But it's so much cheaper to buy it. And always buy bone-in, skin-on is always cheaper than boneless, skinless. Plus it cooks up so much better. So whether it's thighs or breasts, you will save a lot of money that way. You will also save a lot of money if you buy a whole chicken and either butcher it yourself at home, which I don't even do, so don't worry about it if you don't, but you can watch lots of YouTube videos on how to do it. It's pretty easy. Or just ask your butcher when you buy it. Buy a whole chicken, just say, hey, can you cut it into 10 parts, 8 or 10 parts? And they'll do it for you free of charge, and you can use the bones for stock. So that's the other reason why I suggest it. I think that roasted bones taste so much better in bone broth. So if I was doing this chicken with bones, I would just shred all the chicken off of it and then take those roasted bones and put them into the Instant Pot and make bone broth. So you're saving a lot of money that way too, because you're using kind of the whole chicken, and it's a lot cheaper. So, all right, see you guys later. Have a wonderful day.